This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Waterkey, and I'm here with... Who am I here with, Jess?
I don't know.
Oh, no, you can't come this far.
I'm here with Matt Stewart and the greatest woman in the universe as voted by the entire population of the world.
Whoa.
Jess's mum. Yeah, I did a little switcheroo there. Just kidding. It's me, Jess Perkins.
Oh, I'm a bit disappointed. I thought I was going to meet or co-host a show with the greatest woman alive.
Yep, you have.
Instead, I'm looking at her daughter.
You have.
Oh, wait. I missed that bit.
Oh, my God.
I thought
This is a mess.
the greatest woman of all time, Kathy Freeman, came to mind, but maybe that was because I saw it on a barbecue shapes ad before.
Ooh.
They billed her as the greatest woman of all time.
Well, she was living on Legend Street. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're not here to talk about shapes.
Or are
to
we?
debate the greatest woman of all time. We are here to host a podcast. Hello, and we're here to host the last podcast for 2018. Well, our podcast, not ever.
Last one ever, and then some smartass tries to release a podcast at like 11:59. It's a 50-second podcast. Fuck you.
What a
you
dog act.
Smartass. We are the last pod. All pods are on holidays now.
It is a pod holiday, but yeah, it's been a bloody fun year. Probably my favourite for the podcast so far.
Each has been better than the last in some ways, and in other ways, much, much worse. I don't know what ways there would be, but it's been so much fun.
We're fine. We're absolutely okay.
It's good to be. I love these because we've a lot of live episodes lately, so it's always nice to be back in the studios with you guys.
It is.
Just
People.
us.
Yes, just us.
Just us.
None of those prying eyes, always going, give us another fact.
Yeah.
Tell us more information about the topic you're talking about.
For God's sake.
Yeah.
They just won't stop.
I like it when it's just us three and we can sit here with no pants on, pick our noses whenever we like, and nobody sees it except you two. But who's going to say anything?
Who cares?
I hadn't noticed that. Could you just keep your fingers in your pants, mate? If you had them on, that is, which you don't. So I don't know what you're going to have to do. Put them in your pits.
Fingers in your pits. Come on.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't cross over?
Oh, you do the cross.
Yeah, I do
I do the chicken dance.
Yeah, I love that. Nah, I do a little self-hug.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's going to be all right, buddy.
I'll do like some sort of weird one.
He does a pretzel.
You're striking some sort of a pose.
Yeah, you do a Vogue. Very good.
I'm voguing. But what I was trying to say was 2018, fantastic year. 2019, possibly an even better year for the pod. And what better way to start it than 3 months in, perform at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
God, his segues are so smooth.
Yep.
Smooth.
It's so smooth. I don't know where they're going until they're already happening.
Yeah. That's right. We are performing at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival once again.
I like the word performing.
Yeah. Appearing? We'll be there.
Sitting and talking.
Sitting. That's a performance art.
Yeah, it is.
Tickets went on sale last week and they're available at dogoonpod.com. And if you use the code CHRISTMAS before the end of the year, before January 1st, you can get a discount on all tickets, including already discounted season passes.
Are we talking classic spelling or Dave's spelling of Krishmi?
No, I went through this last week when I was doing the intro. I just went with Christmas.
Yep.
Just normal Christmas because Krishmish would have been too confusing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
How do you spell Krishmish? You know, how long's a piece of string?
Yeah. It's really whatever's in your heart.
How long's a Krishmish?
Yeah.
How long's a
How many
Krishmish?
E's in a Krishmish? Me, I'd say 4 or 5 if I'm going hard, but just depends. Now, the way the show works, right? Is that plug over?
Yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way, you know?
The way the show works, Jess, if I'm right, tell me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to know about it.
Okay.
The way the show works is between the three of us, we rotate, and each week we do a report on a topic that we research to varying degrees, but normally at least quite a lot. And then we bring a report in and we tell it to the other two who don't know what the topic's going to be. To get on a topic, we ask a question. This week, Dave is doing the topic and the report
And the question.
and the question.
Wow, he's
And
done it all.
to get us on topic, Dave, what is your question this
My
week?
question to get us on topic is, who became world famous after piloting the Spirit of St. Louis?
Okay. Famous pilots.
Pilots.
Famous pilot. Yes,
Those
definitely.
brothers,
We've done them.
the Marx brothers.
Done
Have
them.
we done them
The
already?
Wright brothers.
Oh, yeah, the Wright brothers
Get
as
it
well.
right, mate. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Don't applaud yourself.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's like you were already like clapping as you were
Who
halfway
are you
through that
bowing
sentence.
to?
Yeah, stop.
It's hard to get it across on the podcast, but when I said right there, I was actually spelling it WRIGHT.
Yeah.
Like the brothers. That's why that is so funny.
That's why I'm a genius.
No, it's not the right brother.
Is
So
it John Travolta?
no, who is also a famous pilot.
Is it?
This name would probably come between the Wright brothers and John Travolta on the list. Number 2 on the list.
Of pilots?
Yep.
Ooh,
Is
okay.
it Amelia Earhart?
Okay, that may also be number 2. They share a second spot. Amelia Earhart and one other person. This is a
Male?
man. It is a man.
Is it Jacques Picard or whatever Patrick Stewart's name is in that show?
No.
Is he you pilot a plane? Space plane?
Yeah, space plane.
Is it Scotty Beam Me Up?
Oh, is that his full name?
Yeah.
That's why they say that when they say that.
Yeah.
Scotty beamed me up.
It's just one of the, you know how you've got friends who you refer to with their full name?
I always assumed it was just he wanted a bean. Bean me up, Scotty.
Chuck
Hit
us
me
a
with-
bean.
Yeah.
Scotty's sitting there with a bag of beans. Just eating him. He brought his own lunch.
Bean me up.
Beat me up. Beat me up. And Scotty's like, I wish you would bring your own lunch. You keep eating half of mine. And honestly, the reason I'm bringing it is I'm trying to eat healthy, but also just trying to save a bit of cash. But you're eating half my lunch.
Yeah, you're
And then
a
I
dog.
end up going through the drive-through on my way home because I'm hungry because half my lunch was eaten by you. I've never been reimbursed.
The drive-through on the way home from Star Trek.
Yeah, they're people too.
On the way back to their houses.
Anyway, I don't think either of us know what it is.
I'm talking about Charles
Xavier.
Lindbergh.
Oh, the Lindbergh baby.
That is also part of this massive
Right.
topic.
I don't even know what that means. I've just heard people say it before, maybe in Seinfeld.
Oh, right. So, wow, can't believe that comedy show referenced this absolutely tragic event.
Oh, no.
But there are 2 things that Charles Lindbergh is very famous for.
No, it was The Simpsons. I think Grandpa at one point says, I was the Lindbergh baby.
Oh, God, yeah.
Is that true?
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go. Early Simpsons reference.
Very famous for flying the Spirit of St. Louis, and then also very famous for what has been dubbed as the crime of the century.
Oh.
Which century? I guess the 20th.
20th century, that's right.
Ooh, so bigger crime than
9/11.
No, that did not fit in, I'm afraid.
That's
Biggest crime of the 21st century.
I know.
I don't know what to do.
You bring it up every episode.
Oh, not on this point. That's a primates thing. Do I bring it up on this? So actually, this story does. This isn't a pre 9/11 world. I guess a lot of this story. So that's interesting. And yeah, it was a more naive time back then. Is that what you want?
Now, this topic has been suggested by a whole bunch of people, but the reason I'm doing it is because our main man, Mr. Justin McCain, way back when we used to have the golden hat, I missed his suggestion at the time. So this is the final ever golden hat
Fell
suggestion.
into a crack in the golden hat.
Sorry, Justin.
I think he's talking to you.
So this one is definitely for you, Justin McCain. Thank you so much for your continued support and also your support way back when we had the golden hat going. And also a bunch of other people I'll quickly shout out to. Abby Sostre, Jacob Gray, Nolan Hewitt, Billy from Calgary, didn't say any last name, Jeff Rossman, Emma from Austin, Yusuf from Glasgow, and Ari Katz from Israel. Very popular topic.
Awesome.
A lot of great names.
It did sound like I was making up a whole lot of names just reading them out.
Beautiful names, Dave.
Thanks to everyone.
Well made up.
I don't believe you have it in you to make up names that good.
I don't think I do either.
Dave would be like, Dave from Glasgow.
Glasgow from
Dave.
Dave.
David.
David from Dave.
Yeah. Land. And others.
Yeah.
Now, it's on to the topic, which is, of course, Charles Lindbergh. And we're going to start with his early life
A great place to start, Dave.
and work our way through this how do I say, extraordinary life. It's very...
Some people would start sort of in the middle and then they'd get to something and be like, oh, yeah, I have to let you know that this thing happened to him when he was really young and that's why his mum calls him Steve. Anyway, so now, but see, when you start at the beginning,
You work out that Charles and Steve are the same person.
it flows.
And it could be fun if you start somewhere in the middle and then you put a sort of like a title card on the lower third of the screen saying 17 years earlier.
Yeah, that's fun too, actually, if you can do that. If you can put a title card on the lower third of the screen
I
on
could
this
put in a
podcast.
sting that says 17 years earlier.
Oh, I don't like that. Do a different voice.
17 years earlier.
Oh, I like that one better.
That was just his voice.
What's that?
That was slightly higher. Slightly.
It's
That was
just Dave sounding pleasant.
that was about 8% higher than usual.
Dave, did you say this is your longest ever report before?
I didn't say it on mic, but off mic and on mic now it is. So let's get into it.
That's Matt subtly telling me to shut the fuck up, I think.
I went overboard with the research. A little bit overboard.
I didn't think it was that subtle.
So that's it. After 20 years, so long and good luck. I don't recall saying good luck. Kirk Van Houten fired.
I'm the Kurt of this show.
It is so brutal.
All right, I'll let
here we go.
Dave speak then.
Charles Augustus Lindbergh Jr. What a name. Was born February 4th, 1902 in Detroit, Michigan. The son of Evangeline Lodge Land. That sounds mad up. Evangeline Lodge Land.
Lodge Land.
Lodge and Land are two separate names.
That does sound like a theme park.
Lodge Land. It sounds like a Freemason-themed theme park. The son of Evangeline Lodge Land, a chemistry teacher, and her husband, Charles Augustus Lindbergh Sr., who was a lawyer and later congressman for Minnesota from 1907 to 1917.
That's 10 years.
That's right, and being a congressman. Well done. Well done.
See?
How does she do
And I've started on my New Year's resolution early, and it's to get better at maths.
Put your hands on the table. Is there a calculator in? No? Abacus. Oh, she's holding her phone. With the calculator app open.
Yeah.
And it says equals 10.
Charles attended many schools throughout his life and eventually graduated in 1918 from Little Falls High School.
Aww.
Same school where his mum taught chemistry.
Did you? Oh, because of the little?
Yeah. That's cute. Little Falls. Aww.
Throughout his childhood and teenage years, he showed a keen interest in all things mechanical. He worked on his family's car and motorbike and learned a lot from that.
Motorbike?
And learned a lot from that.
Matt, this is Dave's longest report. If you could just pipe down.
It's like you're... Yeah, okay.
And at the age of 18, he entered the University of Wisconsin to study engineering. To talk more about motorbikes. However, by this time, Lindbergh had become fascinated by aviation, and after 2 years, he left school to become a barnstormer, which is a pilot that performs daredevil stunts at fairs.
Ooh, that's fun.
Fun. Well, that was his plan. But he'd had a few flying lessons, but didn't have enough money to own his own plane and wasn't allowed to fly solo in someone else's plane. So he joined the circus in Jacksonville, Florida, and saved up money performing as a wing walker.
Oh.
You know, when back in the day when they'd have the wings and people would walk along them. Very, very dangerous. It's like obviously a stunt. So he'd
do that.
to save up to buy his own plane, he risked his life by being a wing walker.
That's... Something about that's real cool. If someone was doing that today, like the Red Bull pilots or something, I'd be like, whatever. You know, I bet you could do that. But back then, in the olden days with weird old planes...
We didn't know that they could do that.
I was thinking more on like a domestic Jetstar flight.
Wow.
I'd be like, ooh, I'm not sure you're supposed to be there.
There's something.
Finally, that joke's funny.
It's a reference to an old episode of Twilight Zone.
Yes, and a reference to us talking about that reference and not getting it. On Matt's other podcast, Primates, when we were talking about Ace Ventura 2, this time it's personal. Whatever it was called.
Back in the habit, please.
Yeah, please. So he was a wing walker. He saved up enough money to buy a Curtiss JN4, aka a Jenny plane, that's what people call them, left over from the First World War.
Jenny.
Yeah, that's what people called them.
Love it.
Jenno. So, yeah, now he's got his own plane. He had less than 20 hours instruction when he completed his first solo flight.
Oh.
He practiced takeoffs and landings for a week, then filled up with 40 gallons of gas, and he set course for Montgomery, Alabama, 140 miles away, to start his barnstorming career where he was billed as Daredevil Lindbergh.
So he's had 20 hours.
And then he's like, great, I'm good to go.
I'm just going to have a practice of my takeoff and landing, arguably the most important bit. And now I'm going to fly off and start charging money to do tricks that I don't know how to do, but I'll figure it out.
You can barely fly a plane in a straight line, and he's like, yeah, I'll be a daredevil,
I can do a flip.
to be honest.
Daredevils don't have to fly planes in a straight line.
Exactly. And also, he's risking his life every time he gets behind the plane, so it's really dangerous. People appreciate
him
that.
flying badly. He's like, yeah, I'm doing it. Tricks.
Yeah.
Now look at him flipping over. Yeah, I'm doing this on purpose. It's great. Look at it. Whatever
Yeah.
I'm doing, that's on purpose.
Yep. It's called a whoop-de-whoop.
It's got a whoop-de-whoop. He's quick on his feet, Dave. Maybe take a little page out of Charlie's book.
Someone's yelling, do a whoop-de-whoop.
You want me to start
Doing a whoop-de-whoop.
Yeah.
being a daredevil?
Yes.
Because I'll do it.
Oh, can you imagine Dave with a mohawk?
He's so close.
And an eyebrow ring.
As all daredevils have, the combo.
And an eyebrow ring. He's a daredevil from 1998.
I think I would look quite good with an eyebrow ring.
All right, let's try it.
Oh, no.
Back in your band days, I could picture you with it.
Yeah, with your your dyed black hair and your emo fringe.
Definitely have that.
I'm sad you outgrew that.
Really?
Yeah, it's time for a resurgence, I feel. Matt, dreadlocks are back, thank you.
And Jess, what horrible haircut did you have?
Nothing, I've always had excellent hair.
I should say I'd never had dreadlocks. I had one dreadlock.
You had dreadlock.
It was gross, and I wish you would stop talking about it.
Never.
I've moved on. It's about time you did too.
I will never move on. Dave, please move on.
Have I told you when I remember taking it out? I picked it out by hand. It took so long. I was home by myself. I was about 18 or 19, and I was watching an OC marathon. There could be the change from like real grubby, gross guy to member of society could not have been more complete by watching a marathon of the OC.
Or from boy to man.
Yeah, that day.
It's beautiful. So not many people can pinpoint it, so it's quite special that you can.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
And did you say to yourself, welcome to the OC, bitch?
Yes, I did.
So glad you did.
Dave,
So
go
now
on.
he's a barnstormer. Then in 1924, Lindbergh enlisted in the United States Army so he could be trained as an Army Air Services reserve pilot. Not at war at that stage. He graduated the following year and as the best pilot in his class. Then he got a job as a mail pilot flying between St. Louis and Chicago.
For a sec, I did get confused between mail for a second there.
Sorry, basically he's a mailman
Yeah.
in the air.
Yeah.
Postman.
He's a
postie.
postie.
Now, you think this would be a relatively easy job compared to his military training. He's got to deliver posts. But on 2 separate occasions, he had to bail out of his plane due to bad weather and plane failure whilst it was flying in the air.
What about the mail?
Fortunately, he was unharmed in both incidents, and on both occasions, once he landed, he tracked down the mail he was delivering and ensured they would be sent on with minimal delay. He gets the job done.
Love that.
This guy gets it.
He gets it.
He's a doer.
Yeah.
I love that. As a doer myself,
Yeah.
I love recognizing another doer.
Now, aviation had been really growing since the Wright brothers, who I did a whole report on you can listen to, took their first flight in 1903. And then the First World War made sure the technology improved at a rapid rate. With the war now over, in 1919, Raymond Ortegue, a French-American hotelier and aviation enthusiast, and also philanthropist, announced a prize of $25,000, a huge amount of money equal to close to $350,000 US today, for anyone that could fly non-stop between New York City and Paris or vice versa. A non-stop transatlantic flight.
So those kind of, like when somebody like that goes, I'll offer this reward for this, are they basically just trying to push like the technology to advance fast, like motivate people to.
Yeah, or do they get the technology? Is it like we'll buy the technology if you do it, or is it just going we
Just
want to
shits
bring
and
science
gigs.
on?
No, he
Yeah.
was just so rich that he just was a fan. So I've got here, having made an enormous fortune with a chain of hotels in New York City, Ortega was fascinated by stories he'd heard from French pilots in World War I and developed a real passion for aviation and dreamt of how commercial air travel could benefit the world.
Yeah, so
So he was just a fan of the technology. I don't think he's going to get rich from it, but he's like, 25 grand to me is nothing, and maybe it'll kickstart.
yeah, that's what I mean. So it's not just shits and gigs. It's probably kind of thinking if people are working towards this kind of goal, it will push the technology forward. I guess.
Yeah, because now the technology is starting to stall it. Because in
Yeah.
World War One, everyone's trying to get the best plane. So, as always, what happens with big wars is technology advances in great leaps.
Yeah.
And now that's over. Sort of, this is the Great Depression times. So
There's
there's
a lull.
less
Yep.
money flying around for these kind of things. So he's like, oh, just keep the money going.
That's cool.
Love that. Ortega. And if you are in America, please do stay at one of the fabulous Ortega hotels.
Oh,
Hotel Ortega
Yeah.
is the sponsor of this episode. We will be invoicing them. They don't know they're a sponsor, but you know.
Do you know you don't know the hotel chain? Or did he a generation down change his name to Hilton?
yeah. To a much more glamorous sounding name than Ortega.
Ortega's
I
beautiful.
love it.
No matter what you say.
His most famous hotel was the Hotel Lafayette in New York City.
I've heard of that, I reckon.
Sadly, it was demolished in the 1950s.
I definitely wouldn't have heard of that. I've heard the word Lafayette. It's a person or something.
That's right. When we saw Hamilton a few weeks ago in
one
London.
of the characters in that.
Yes.
That would be it.
French
The
revolutionist.
French one, the one you liked.
I can
Yeah.
remember back to just a couple of... Did I say I liked them?
No, you were confused because the same actor plays Thomas Jefferson.
Oh,
And you
right.
thought that they were the same person.
Yeah, well, why is that change accent?
A
I
lot
guess by
happened.
now he's been in America for a while, but you'd think he'd still have
Yeah.
his French accent. I don't know.
Now, I should say, it should be noted that others had technically completed non-stop transatlantic flights, with the first being completed in 1919 by British aviators John Alcock and Arthur Brown. In 72 hours non-stop, they travelled from Newfoundland in Canada to Galway in Ireland and received $10,000 from the Daily Mail for their exploits. Their electrically heated flying suits failed, but coffee spiked with whiskey kept them warm and somewhat alert. You know, when you're drinking whiskey and you fly on a plane.
Somewhat alert. That's where you want to be.
There's photos of them having, quote, landed, and the cockpit is down and the tail is up. They've definitely crash landed.
Oh, I don't know why I laughed at that. That's...
Well, they survived.
they're
it's funny.
okay.
It's funny.
So how many, did you say 72 hours?
Yep.
Fuck that.
That's a long time in a plane.
I don't want to be awake for that long.
Long time in a plane like that would be a nice-ish plane to sit in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and one that you're not flying.
Yeah.
But you're in control, and the whole time it's just...
Yeah, it would be
Yeah,
so loud.
that'd be awful. I mean, that's too long in first class.
But at
you know?
least they're
Like,
getting drunk and a bit stimulated by the bean. Bean me up, Scotty, is what they said to each other.
But no one had yet travelled over the whole Atlantic, so Raymond Ortega, inspired by Alcock and Brown, travelling from Canada to Ireland, set up this huge prize to encourage people to try it. And try they did. And fail, they also did. It was a serious challenge, a total of nearly 6,000 kilometres or 3,600 miles, and was actually double the distance from Canada to Ireland.
whoa.
So a real step up and very dangerous.
That's twice the amount.
Wow. Is it?
If my calculations are correct, and
Dave?
I believe they are.
Well, check Jess's calculator.
Yeah, it says ×2.
Yeah. So it's very dangerous for pilots to attempt. The prize was on offer for 5 years, and in that time had zero competitors as the technology just wasn't ready for it. So Ortega extended it another 5 years, and then people began to attempt the challenge. The first attempt was French flying ace René Fonck.
Fonck?
Fonck.
Fonck.
F-O-N-C-K.
Fonck.
René Fonck.
I love that
I'm
so
going
much.
to name him the Freak. Freak the Fonk. Don't freak the Fonk. Does that not mean anything to you guys?
This
You
is
sign-
Dave's longest report.
Okay.
We got the Fonck. He was actually the Allies' best fighter pilot from the First World War and second overall only to the Red Baron, who you've probably heard of.
Yes.
Yeah, couldn't have kids. Real sad story.
Oh, dear.
Really wanted him.
Yeah, would have
Couldn't
made
have
a
him.
great dad. So
Yeah. It'd be fine if you were the Red Baron, but it was never part of your
Yeah.
plan.
Red Baron and just
Great.
making rain with that. What do you call it when you got no kids? Something like SNCC or something.
What?
Some term like childless. Something ack.
Ah.
Something. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Sad sack.
Sad sack.
You know who did have lots of kids? Rene Fonk.
Rene Fong,
He got the Fonk on.
the freak.
However, the Freak was less successful with the Orteig Prize, despite aircraft designer Igor Sikorsky reportedly spending $100,000 on the plane.
Love the name Igor.
Remember, they're trying to win 25 grand, and he spent 100 grand on the plane just because he wants to win so bad. And after all that, the plane crashed on takeoff, and 2 of Rene Fonk's crew members were killed.
Oh, no.
But Rene himself survived. But that was the end of his dream. In 1927, 3 groups in the United States and 1 in Europe were known to be preparing attempts on the prize. But none were successful, and many ended in disaster. In total, 6 men in 3 separate crashes, and another 3 were injured in a 4th crash.
Wow.
So people having bad luck.
Dink is what they call them. Double income, no kids.
Dink.
Dink.
Wow.
Classic Red Baron. But he was a sink. He was single income. God bless him. What is going on? All right, I'm going to... I don't know what's going on.
Meanwhile, our young, plucky 25-year-old Lindbergh wanted to have his own crack at the Orteig Prize. It had only been 4 years since his first solo flight, but he thought his mechanical expertise could really get him across the line. Despite being very unknown in comparison to many of the pilots attempting the crossing, Lindbergh was able to get financial backing from a group of St. Louis businessmen who helped him score a $15,000 loan, and he also put in his own $2,000 life savings.
It's amazing how much money people are putting in to win that amount of money.
Mm.
Yeah, it's financially sometimes doesn't work out. But it's
Big
the
gamble.
fame.
17 grand to win 25 is not good odds. Unless it's a sure thing.
Though, if you do get it,
That's 8 grand. That's happy days.
and worldwide fame.
Yes.
Lindbergh chose Ryan Aeronautical Company of San Diego to manufacture a special plane which he helped design. They had to build the plane much faster than usual because people were trying to complete the challenge all the time, and they were worried that they'd be pipped at the post. So the plane was built in just 60 days.
Wow.
Officially known as the Ryan NYP, standing for New York to Paris, the single-engine monoplane was designed by Donald A. Hall of Ryan Airlines, but it was nicknamed the Spirit of St. Louis in honor of Lindbergh's financial supporters from St. Louis, and this is what the plane is known to history as.
That's not the Ryanair, is it?
No.
What a downhill.
What a step down.
Yeah.
The Spirit had extra fuel tanks added to it in order to be able to carry enough fuel for the super long-haul flight. At Lindbergh's request, the large main and forward fuel tanks were placed in the forward section of the fuselage in front of the pilot.
How could he see?
This meant that the plane had no windscreen, and when flying, Lindbergh couldn't see. I'm not kidding. Which obviously sounds crazy, but he was used to mail blocking his vision anyway, and when flying the mail plane and this plane, he would use side windows and turn the plane if he wanted to see what was up ahead. So he just turned to the left, look out the window, oh, that's cool, all right, back on course. He also had a periscope built into the plane, so
I hope he alternates between checking the left and right window. Otherwise, he's just always inching slightly left.
He also had a periscope built into the plane so he could see what was in front of him, but it's not clear if he actually used this at all.
It was mostly for when his plane was underwater
Just in case.
and he needed to spy on his cartoon enemies.
You get to see a big eye.
Yeah. Yeah. Why could you always see an eye in the periscope?
Check out that big eye.
Periscopes are dumb. Submarines are weird. Anyway.
You said it.
Yeah, I don't care. I'll take them down. I'll take down a big submarine.
Yeah.
They're a weird thing. Why? They're weird.
Big subma.
They're so weird. Oh, you'll just go under the water. Let's build a big metal fish. So silly.
Isn't that silly?
It's just, I mean, when you think about it, which is the first time I've really thought about what a submarine is, and it's an underwater boat.
Matt, is that right?
It's more like an underwater bus.
Yeah, something like that.
They're so silly. It don't make any sense.
I mean, if you want to travel underwater, they make perfect sense.
Why would you need to travel underwater? When is that quicker?
Was it? I'm guessing. Was it war? To
Yeah,
try to be.
yes.
Yeah, of course, but now why do we have
I mean, now,
Still war.
now all the wars are over.
I think. Is it to? It's to find necklaces for Titanic
Oh, yeah.
movies.
Yeah, James Cameron is a big fan.
Sorry. Yep, I feel like an idiot. You're right. They have a huge purpose.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everybody out there has connections with someone with a submarine.
Oh, a live pod on a submarine.
Please,
on.
Come
let
on.
me in.
Especially if it's all glass, and you imagine that an all glass submarine, you could just see everything everywhere. That'd be so cool.
What's that Kelsey Grammer movie? They're on a submarine?
X-Men 2?
Yes.
Is that right?
Oh, is it up Periscope?
Yes. Or is it down
Down
Periscope?
Periscope.
Down
Periscope.
Periscope.
I
That's
actually
right.
have seen that.
Yeah, and the chef farts when they're trying to be quiet so they don't
Oh,
get caught.
not
Yeah,
the
it's good
chef.
stuff.
That is some good humour.
Sorry to derail, but submarines are stupid.
In summary.
Please do go on.
Lindbergh, well, this isn't about submarines, thankfully. Lindbergh also decided to go against the grain and avoid using multiple crew members.
None of this is about submarines.
No, you brought up submarines, Jess.
Where did they come off again?
Periscope on the plane.
Periscopes. Periscopes are dumb.
Well, yes, they are. Lindbergh also decided to go against the grain and avoid using multiple crew members like the other failed attempts. This made them heavier, but it also meant that they could share the flying. Lindbergh chose to fly solo, so he had to do it all on his own. He later said that the random movements of the unstable craft kept him awake. He also reportedly chose a deliberately uncomfortable wicker chair to keep him awake and flew with the windows open.
Oh my god.
He had very little room in the cockpit that was so small he couldn't even stretch out his legs.
Oh, no.
That all sounds like a
It's
nightmare.
torture.
He was obsessed with keeping the weight down as well. He chose not to have a radio, which sounds crazy, but back then it was extremely heavy and very hard to use. He was also rumoured to have cut the top and bottom off his flight map to save a few grams of weight.
Oh my god.
Wow.
That is
Okay.
wasted area on a map. The border? Who needs it? I'm with
Yeah.
him. Nah, good on him.
I agree.
Save them grams. And then open the windows up. You know, stop all that little bit extra weight, get you there quicker, and then create drag by opening up your windows and turning yourself into a big parachute. That I know, so I am a scientist.
I'm glad you're here.
I'm always glad you're here, even without science.
Thanks, Jeff.
His biggest rivals were Charles Nungasa
Nungasa.
and Francois Colli, who left just under 2 weeks before him, and they were likely to be the first to complete the challenge. But they disappeared aboard the Le Soir Blanc, the White Bird, somewhere en route, and that has become one of the greatest aviation mysteries of all time. They never found them.
Oh,
They were two very famous pilots at the time.
You know what
One
I
of them
reckon?
wore an eye patch and looked like a cool badass
Get
in the photos I
out.
saw.
I reckon they landed in the ocean, submarine picked them up. They love the sub life.
Yeah.
Living their best sub life, yo.
Yeah.
Love a sub.
Love a sub.
If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe.
Just say that every half an hour or so. But this didn't put off Lindbergh. So his rivals crashed, probably, but this didn't put off Lindbergh. And finally, on the morning of May 27, 1927, it was go time. He took off from a muddy Roosevelt Field on Long Island, New York. He hadn't slept since 9 a.m. the previous day, but he just had to get going.
What the fuck? And now you're going to be awake for like 70 hours.
Because he was carrying so much fuel, he was so close to the maximum takeoff weight, he only cleared telephone lines at the edge of the field by 20 feet. So he only just managed to take off in time. Despite his tricks, not surprisingly, he started to feel tired 3 hours into the flight.
Yeah, no shit.
And he was struggling to stay awake. He was up and down in terms of altitude and skimmed storm clouds at 10,000 feet at night, and then flew as low as 10 feet when he was off the Irish coast. 10 feet above the water. 3 meters.
No. Why?
Just up and down. He's just avoiding bad weather.
So he's just skimming across the water like a boat. Or
Or
he was 10 feet under the water.
Do you think he was under the sea?
I think so. He flew blindly into fog for several hours, so he couldn't see anything. Imagine that. It'd be terrifying.
7 hours just going, please be no mountain.
He had to calculate his course by dead reckoning, where basically you work out how far you've gone by calculating how fast you've been traveling and in what one direction. It's not that accurate, can be kind of dangerous. It works but isn't super reliable, especially when you're flying over an ocean and you can't match where you think you are with objects on the ground. So you can't be like, all right, if I'm in that spot, I should be able to see the ocean. I'm going to look out the other window. Yep, I should be able to see the ocean.
Okay, good.
Okay.
If anything, he'd be concerned if he could see land.
Yes. So if anything,
It's good.
He should be good.
Yeah,
Should be
as long
happy.
as all he can see is ocean, then he's good.
And he also didn't have a radio, remember, so he can't contact anyone to confirm where he is.
Brilliant.
It got a bit harder from here. From fatigue, he started hallucinating and falling asleep for brief periods while flying in and above the fog. Imagine that. You pass out, wake up. Oh, man, it's still in a plane. I'm still on a plane.
Yeah, you can't exactly pop it in autopilot and have a nap, can you?
No.
Even just a 15-minute, little power nap.
But after 27 hours, he spotted land, and amazingly, he was only 3 miles off course, and he was 2.5 hours ahead of schedule.
What?
He landed at Le Bourget Aerodrome at 10:22 p.m. on Saturday, May 21st, having flown for a total of 33.5 hours.
But being awake for like another 24
before
that.
that.
Ugh, nightmare, but amazing.
He'd done it.
He made it.
Sounds like a lot of luck. Would that be fair
Yeah,
to say?
it does sound like
He
that.
later said, like with the fog and stuff, I was taking a calculated risk. I'm not crazy. I wasn't risking my life. It's like, well, you were. 8 other people have died trying to do what you did.
100%
Better pilots than you.
Yeah, much more experienced and world famous. Bill Bryson writes, one of Matt's.
Love Bill.
Oh, Bill.
We were touring the Roman baths in Bath, and you could have an audio guide, which was like just a normal one spoken by an unknown voice, or the Bill Bryson Backstage Spectacular.
I say I love Bill. I've read 2 of his books, which were pretty good.
That's
high
high praise.
I think he's funny. I had to study one for lit at uni.
Did you?
Yes.
Cool.
The first one. The one where he starts by saying, I come from Des Moines. Someone had to. Or something like that.
Very good stuff.
It's a great start.
Yeah. Strong start.
Well, Bill Bryson, he says initially that Charles Lindbergh mistook the aerodrome for some large industrial complex because of the bright lights spreading out in all directions. In fact, they were the headlights of tens of thousands of spectators' cars who had been caught in the largest traffic jam in the history of Paris. And they were all there to attempt to be present for his landing. So they'd heard he was coming, and they were ready for his
You
arrival.
don't know exactly when he's coming, though.
No, they don't.
So what, they're just waiting out? What? No, I need an exact time, or I'm not going.
Well, I think there was less on back then.
No,
That's true.
I'd be checking the website, looking at the set times, going 9 p.m.
The set times.
I'll get there at 8:30.
So there's a band
So
playing in your mind.
there's a support act.
Yeah, I assumed another plane would land before him.
You don't want to get there early? Check out the merch.
Depends.
You want to get a good spot, right?
Depends.
Up the front.
Yeah.
Depends on what.
Depends on the act.
Yep.
What if it's the first ever to do music? Like he is, sort of.
Wow. Okay. Now that you put it like that, I'm going to drive out there every day hoping he arrives.
Tens of thousands of people greeted.
Do you hear how
I hear the
fucking
sincerity-
dumb
oh,
you
it's
sound
dumb.
now?
Yeah. Oh.
Do you hear that?
Yeah, now that you've said that.
Yeah. Do you hear how dumb you sound?
Now that you've said dumb twice, yeah. Starting to hear it.
Dave, sorry about Dumbo over there.
Well, Dumbo.
Is that my ears?
Tens of thousands of people turned up to greet Charles Lindbergh, and perhaps as many as 150,000 I saw in some places. Either way, the reception was huge, and overnight Charles Lindbergh became one of the most famous names on planet Earth. Orteig, the man who inspired all of this, was vacationing in France at the time and travelled to Paris immediately, where he met Lindbergh and arranged for the prize to be awarded. And his life after this was never the same. It's hard to fathom the level of sudden interest that surrounded him, but I'll try and put it into some perspective as from what I was reading. His mother's house in Detroit was surrounded by a crowd estimated to be about 1,000. That's just his mum's house. He's not there. He's in Paris, guys.
What are they hoping to see?
His mum. Again, Matt was right. There was a lot less going on back then. The French Foreign Office flew the American flag, which is the first time it had saluted someone who wasn't a head of state visiting. Speaking of heads of state, President Calvin Coolidge awarded him the Distinguished Flying Cross, and a special act of Congress awarded him the Medal of Honor, despite the fact that it was most always awarded for heroism in combat. This man, who a few weeks before was a humble mailman, had a 10-cent airmail stamp depicting him and the Spirit and a map of the flight produced in his honor. So he's gone from delivering mail to now he's on the mail.
Cool.
He was honored with multiple awards, including being promoted to the rank of colonel in the Air Corps. There were banquets and parades where it's estimated that millions of people saw him. Millions turned out to welcome him. On his return to America, there were 500,000 letters and 75,000 telegrams waiting for him.
Oh, that's just too overwhelming.
Yeah, imagine
Imagine if you opened your emails and you had that many.
Ugh.
I'd just shut the laptop and walk away, to be honest. I'd probably throw it out a window. It's like, just make it. This is very nice, but too much.
Dear Charles Lindbergh, stop. Congratulations on the flight. Stop. Keep going. Stop. Something like that. I believe in you. Stop.
Don't stop.
Lindbergh was honored as the first ever Time Magazine Man of the Year.
First ever.
First ever.
Really?
Good trivia fact. Where he appeared on the magazine's cover at age 25, January 2nd, 1928, and he remains the youngest ever person of the year.
Really?
Wow.
First and youngest.
Even younger than the computer or whatever it is.
The computer was person of the year 1 year. Traveling around the country, he flew his famous plane to different cities where he gave speeches and participated in parades, and the public just couldn't get enough. He wrote a best-selling book called We.
Yes. In French?
Oh, I assumed spelled.
No, W-E is in.
W-E.
It wasn't just me that did this. It was a team effort.
Oh, I was going double E.
I thought it was because he pissed his
Where'd
pants.
he piss? Did he have a bottle at least?
Oh, just piss in a bottle and throw it out the window.
That
We
plane
just let it
would
dribble
stick.
through the wicker chair. That's another beauty of the wicker.
Dribble through. Beautiful
when you put
imagery.
away that.
No, beautiful, Matthew. Well done.
That's beautiful. That's
good stuff.
A thing of beauty.
Learn it from Bill Bryson.
He's just got away with words. Traveling around the country, he flew his now famous plane to different cities where he gave speeches and participated in parades.
Oh, he had to fly himself there. Ugh.
And the public just couldn't get enough.
Yeah,
Like I
okay.
said, he wrote the book called We, which sold more than 650,000 copies and earned Lindbergh more than $250,000 in royalties. So there's
Whoa.
10 times the prize,
Yes.
which is the equivalent now of $3.5 million.
So the investment was sound.
Yeah. He went on a 3-month speaking tour to promote the book, flying from city to city in
City to Syria.
city to city in the spirit of St. Louis. And this is what the book's Amazon blurb says. You can still buy a copy of We. Quote, the nation became obsessed with Lindbergh during the tour, in which he was seen in person by more than 30 million Americans, a quarter of the nation's then population.
More than Australia's now population.
No other book before or since ever had such an extensive, highly publicized tour that helped promote a book than did Lindbergh's We of himself and the Spirit during their 22,350-mile tour of the US. He visited 82 cities in all 48 continental states, during which the nation's aviation hero delivered 147 speeches and rode 1,290 miles in parades.
Jeez.
I can't actually fathom
Yeah, nothing's
reception.
happened in our life that would
that's that big.
give anyone...
1 in 4 in that whole country went and saw him.
How many books did he sell?
But he only sold 650,000
Yeah, that's-
I'd be pissed off. You'd be like, 30 million people came out and like...
Oh, Dave's doing math. Look at the cogs turning.
Just
Like,
beat him on your calculator.
Like 1 in 50 bought a book. 1 in 50!
It's not a great conversion rate for a bookseller. You got to move them units. Jess, you've written a few books. What
I
is your
have,
conversion
yes.
rate like?
My mum has bought all of them. Thank
Really?
you. Yes.
100%.
Yeah,
That's
100%.
what you got to do.
I get an A4 piece of paper.
Yeah.
I fold it in half, and I make one side the front cover, and I write by Jessie P on it, and I draw the cover myself.
Oh, that's your nom de plume.
Oh, shit, I shouldn't have said that.
Oh, no.
I've given it away. Now Mum will know it's me. I'm their favourite author.
I just
The
can't.
real page turner, I've heard him say.
Thanks a lot, Jess. I just can't get enough of these Jesse P novels you keep giving me for Christmas. I've tried to find them online to get a few more throughout the year, but they're just sold out everywhere.
I know a guy, Mum. I'll sort it for you next birthday. And then I write one for her birthday.
How many words you normally get in?
6.
But can we hear? I obviously don't want to give away the whole. Maybe the first 2 of 6.
Dear Mum.
Oh wow!
Are you talking about birthday cards?
I cannot wait.
Hey, you call them birthday cards? I call them award-winning novels.
What awards have they won?
Mummy's favourite book award.
Oh my
6 years running.
And how long ago? So this is when you were like, how old?
So you've won multiple mummies.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I'm a multi-mummy winner.
MMW.
I've been alone all day. Can you tell? It's just nice to be around people. Dave, please go on with the longest report you've ever written. I'm sorry we're in ridiculous moods.
I mean, at this point, you could say that was the report on the Charles Lindbergh Spirit of St. Louis flight.
That's right.
But there's more.
Oh, there is more. There is more. So he's done the tour, which, side note, was organised and funded by Harry Guggenheim from the famous Guggenheim family. Many famous art galleries now. Mm-hmm. During this time, Lindbergh was commonly nicknamed the Lone Eagle and Lucky Lindy, a nickname he apparently hated. Didn't like being seen as lucky.
Yeah, makes sense.
Nothing-
Even though he definitely was.
Nothing lucky about that.
Yeah.
There was a fair bit of luck.
Yeah,
involved.
I'm confident the luck was involved.
Lindbergh's historic flight really helped promote aviation as a whole and led to a 300% increase in the application for pilot's licenses and a 400% increase in the number of licensed aircraft in the United States in the space of 1 year.
Do you reckon we've had a similar kind of percentage influence on podcasts?
Everyone's got one now.
They didn't 3 years ago.
The TV show 60 Minutes has a podcast now.
Oh.
You've got a TV show. What's the end goal? 60 minutes?
No, you've got a TV show that's been on the air for 4 decades.
You're good.
Well, you're fine.
Yeah. You don't need to branch out.
Get off our toes,
Get
60
off
minutes.
our fucking toe. We're not
We
doing
will break your face.
like, let's do a do-go on TV show called 61 Minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, 69 minutes, am I right?
Yeah, that's a nice title.
Why?
That's...
With ad breaks. Really, you just get
Oh, it's a
yourself
TV 69 minutes, yeah.
a TV 69 minutes.
And we
So
all
it's a 2-hour show.
We get 23 minutes each. You can do whatever you want with your 23 minutes.
I'm going to write a book.
Live on air.
Yep.
We can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
So, in summary, at this stage in his life, he's huge. He's bigger than the Beatles.
The Beatles aren't around yet, though, right?
That's
So
why
we-
he's bigger than them.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes it a lot easier.
It does.
But he was huge.
That's incredible.
So everything's going great and he's on top of the world. Now all he needs is a partner in crime to share it all with.
He's getting into crime.
Love that.
Love that. What do you get a man who's got everything? Steal
Crime.
something.
Hey, I got you this.
Crime.
I got you some crime.
I know you already got your own watch, but have you got a stolen watch?
Here, you're going to do time for this timepiece. All right.
60 minutes. At the request of the US government, Lindbergh flew to 16 different Latin American countries in December 1927 as a symbol of American goodwill.
What a beautiful symbol. I'm going to visit you.
Hey, here's our guy. During his trip to Mexico, he met Anne Spencer Morrow, the daughter of Dwight W. Morrow.
From the Morrow Bar.
Love a Morrow.
Right, it's
You a Morrow fan?
spelled
Love 'em.
differently.
No.
Oh.
Sorry.
But Morrows are good, aren't they?
Morrows are good. Some people call them the poor man's Mars bar.
I like it.
I think they're good.
Yeah.
They're the rich man's something else.
Milky Bar.
Milky Bar.
Because it's got the caramel in it.
Yeah,
that
that's
they
on
don't.
me. Oh.
Milky Way is what I meant.
The rich man's time out, aka not a waste of your time. Basically. So anyway, back to Charles. In Mexico, he married Anne Spencer Morrow, who's the daughter of Dwight W. Morrow, the American ambassador in Mexico. They married in a private ceremony on May 27th, 1929.
Aw.
Charles taught his new wife to fly, and they went on many flying expeditions together throughout the world, charting new routes for various airlines.
I always admire couples who find a way to live and work together.
Yeah.
I think it brings its own set of challenges, but with that, its own set of rewards.
Sonny and Cher. Hillary and Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Posh
Zig
and
and Zag
Becks.
clowns.
I always go to Posh and Becks.
Posh and Becks.
And I always get shot down, so I'm glad you went with me there. Thank you.
No, but what? What? They don't live together. They don't work together. They don't love together. I mean, love is work, but they get it done. You know, if you want your relationship to work, it's gonna take work.
Yeah.
They don't call it work for nothing.
Preach.
Mm.
Thank you.
If you want to come to my love seminar, you can go to the same website Dave quoted before for tickets.
DoGoOnPod.com.
Yeah, it'll also be at the live Melbourne International Comedy Festival shows.
Yeah.
I'm going to do inside of that. I'm going to do a quick
Love
seminar.
Really hoping we can hold you to that.
We will not remember.
No, but somebody will.
Someone will just yell out halfway through a report, "Love seminar!" And we'll be
Okay,
like,
thanks for coming out. I'll take this one.
what if you just gave one tip each week
Great.
for how to be a good partner? Just how to be a good partner.
One tip.
I'll do some research.
You give out a couple of tips.
Yeah. Oh, hang on.
You get it? Huh? I reckon that'd be a great segment on our TV show, 69 Minutes.
Love tip.
Love tip. Love tip. Baby love tip.
Dave, you're distracting yourself now.
Sorry.
Now they're flying
They're
together.
flying together. And Anne also became the first American woman to earn a first-class glider pilot's license. So she's a bit of a badass in her own right.
Sick. I love her. Because her name's Anne, like all the best people.
Lindbergh closed the chapter on his headline-grabbing flight when a year and 2 days after the journey, Lindbergh flew the Spirit of St. Louis from St. Louis to Washington, D.C., where he donated the plane to the Smithsonian Institution, and it's been on display there ever since.
Oh, we should go
Cool.
get there.
They still have... Isn't that so cool? So in 19... You know, often it's like... It takes a long time before it becomes famous.
Yeah.
He flew it there and said, there you go, and it's been like one of their... They've also got one of the Wright flyers from the Wright brothers.
Wow.
One of their most famous exhibitions ever since.
We should go touch it.
Can I lick it?
Do you reckon?
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course you can.
They wouldn't let me lick the skin book.
Ugh.
But
Don't bring that up
When he
again.
said we, you were talking about me and Jess and everyone in the world.
Yeah, and the fact that it was behind glass.
no, but they did not stop me licking the glass.
We know, buddy. We had to escort you out.
You had to escort me.
Yeah.
So he's donated the Spirit of St. Louis, but Charles continued to overachieve. Britannica writes, when he was not flying, Lindbergh worked with Nobel Prize-winning surgeon Alexis Carrel on the development of the Perfusion Pump, a device that allows organs to be kept alive outside the body. While the Perfusion Pump did not see widespread use, it demonstrated the feasibility of preserving organs through artificial means and acted as a precursor for the heart-lung machine. So now he's inventing shit.
Shit.
In 1930, Anne gave birth to their first child, a son named Charles Augustus Lindbergh Jr. Now the third one in a line.
Ah,
Cute.
yeah, right. So it's not junior. It's just junior.
Do you reckon they called him Cal? Because that's his initials. I think you have to think about that when you're naming a kid. Think about the initials. I say to my parents,
You reckon?
I'm Jap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from the great character from Poirot.
Yeah, you're right.
Inspector Jap.
God, they're good.
All right, Poirot. Get out of here, Poirot. This is a police work. Here,
Poirot.
Poirot.
If you haven't seen it, that's very accurate. And if you have seen it, that's not very accurate. Well done. So now on to, basically this is part 2. Charles Lindbergh, the life, the story. In 1932, the family moved to a home in rural New Jersey, to escape the press coverage that followed them everywhere. They're hip, they're happening. They're
But
like
they're-
the it couple.
But the press won't go to New Jersey.
Oh, no, thank
Like,
you.
we really want to, paparazzi them, but
What was that quote about Des Moines that guy?
somebody had to come
yeah.
from there.
I came from. I was born in Des Moines. Someone had to be, or something like that.
Yeah.
That guy,
Who was it again?
Bill
Bill
Bryson.
Bryson.
Oh, Bill Bryson. Yeah, nice. So they went to New Jersey. They were building a large estate, basically big walls, big land, so people can't get close to them and their family. The home was not yet finished though, and they went and stayed at the estate on the weekends only. On Tuesday, on March 1st, 1932, the family decided to stay the night for the first time on a weeknight because little Charles Lindbergh Jr. was sick and they didn't want him to have to travel.
Sure.
Apart from that anomaly, everything seemed normal. Then the absolutely unthinkable happened. At about 10 p.m. that
Submarine.
close.
That was thinkable. You thought it.
Oh.
Dave's going to say something that's unthinkable.
So how's he going to say it?
You're not going to be able to guess it. Well, he can. It's not unreadable. It's readable. It's unthinkable.
But Dave can think it now because he knows it.
Well, he can't think it. That's the thing. He's got a blank thing in his head. He's just reading it, and we can say, "What did you just say?"
But he's read it before,
Well,
which
let's
means
see.
now he knows it, so he can think it.
Well, I don't think he can think. I think he's got no memory of it. Let's find out.
Okay, it's written down here for me. At about 10 p.m. that night, it was discovered that the 20-month-old Charles Lindbergh Jr. had been kidnapped.
Okay, Dave. What did you just say?
What?
You just said a sentence. What was it? Wow. Dave, you okay?
Sorry, I just pick up from where I left off. At about 10 p.m. that night, it was discovered that the 20-month-old Charles Lindbergh Jr. had been kidnapped. Huh, interesting. I never read that before.
Oh, no.
I know, honestly, this is a pretty sad part of the story. I'm sorry. At 7:30 p.m., the family nurse, Betty Go.
Go.
I knew that would get her going. I knew that would make you go.
Betty Go.
Betty Go.
Geo?
Geo.
That's not a fucking name.
It's a beautiful name.
Betty Go.
Betty Go.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, Betty Go had gone and put little Charles to sleep at 7:30, as I said. Then at 9:30 p.m., Charles Lindbergh Sr. was in the library, just below the baby's room, and heard a noise that he imagined to be slats breaking off a crate in the kitchen. Don't know why that's normal to him, but he was like, that's nothing.
Not at 9:30 p.m.
Back
Yeah.
then, a lot of things were delivered in crates to kitchens.
True.
Little fact there.
But now the boy was gone. He had been taken from the second floor bedroom. A search of the premises was immediately made, and a ransom note demanding $50,000 was found on the nursery windowsill. It was terribly written. This is what it read: "Dear Sir, have $50,000 with the dollar sign at the end of the number, not at the start, and all the numbers are written like that. Ready, spelled R-E-D-Y, in $20 bills, $15,000 in $10 bills, and $10,000 in $5 bills. After 2 to 4 days, we will inform you where to deliver the money, M-O-N-Y. We warn you for making any ding public or for the police," spelled with an S. "The child is in gut care," I think good care.
Oh.
"Indication for all letters are signature and 3 holds." Don't understand that last bit. I think this means at the bottom of the note there were 2 interconnected blue circles surrounding a red circle with a hole punched through the red circle and 2 more holes to the left and right.
That was the original MasterCard symbol. So they were just saying, we do accept cards.
Yeah, we do accept credit card. It was almost like some sort of signature or calling card.
Right.
Okay. I would, in my head, this might be naive, but I imagine back then literary standards weren't as high, maybe in schools and stuff. So maybe that's just
an uneducated crim, maybe. Yeah.
Well, it's not that wild, but it's like they're not crazy spelling mistakes. They're just a few phonetically spelt words like police with an S, stuff like that.
Classic Matt, always defending the kidnappers.
Well, I don't want to do that. I'm just wondering, what got them to that point.
But why are you wondering that, Matt? Because you feel sorry for them?
I don't know. Look,
You're just siding with the people who just kidnapped a baby?
I'm not siding with them. I hope that this turns out really well in the next sentence or so.
$50,000 is the equivalent of hundreds of thousands of dollars now. It was a huge amount of money, especially during the Great Depression. Yeah. People are really struggling. During the search at the kidnapping scene, traces of mud were found on the floor of the nursery. Footprints, impossible to measure, were found under the nursery window.
Impossible to measure because they didn't have a measuring tape on hand, or
I just think that they were. It was so muddy that they couldn't get a proper print.
Yeah, okay.
Also found was 2 sections of a homemade but ingeniously designed wooden ladder that had 3 parts that slotted together to make it easier to travel with. So that's how they got to the second floor of the house from the outside. It was clear that they'd obviously put a lot of planning in. One of the 2 sections was split or broken where it joined to the other, indicating that the ladder had been broken during the ascent or descent. The police dusted for fingerprints, but none were found, neither was any blood. Word of the horrifying crime quickly spread and became huge news. The Lindbergh family, who basically are kind of like the American royal family at this stage, they're so famous, were inundated by offers of assistance and false reports and clues. Even Al Capone, the famous mobster, offered his help from prison. There was huge speculation that the crime was the work of other mobsters. Capone offered assistance in return for being released from prison under the pretense that his assistance would be more effective, but his offer was denied.
Can I go for an early guess? Theory?
Please.
So they were just building the house, right? So people who might know the layout of the house could include people who were hired to build it. Whether it's like one of the, tradespeople, somebody working on the house.
Maybe the architect.
Architect knows the layout of the house. Otherwise, how would you know? It's a big place.
Maybe someone in council who approved the plans.
Maybe someone with a big pair of binoculars.
Oh, or a periscope. A land periscope.
A giant periscope. There was no immediate word from the kidnappers, so Lindbergh made widespread appeals for the kidnappers to start negotiations. Various underworld characters were dealt with in attempts to contact the kidnappers. So he went to the mobsters and said, if you know anything, let me know.
Yeah.
Then a second ransom note arrived by mail on March 6, 1932. It had been postmarked in Brooklyn and New York on March 4 and contained the same red circle signature. So they were like, this is genuine.
Mm.
In the second letter, the ransom demand was increased to $70,000. Charles Lindbergh, the colonel and American hero, didn't trust the police and used his influence to control the investigation himself. He hired his own private investigators as well. He even kept the ransom notes and his correspondence with the kidnappers secret from the police. So people have since questioned whether he himself had something to hide.
But not involving the police at all. Like not inviting the police into his world.
Yeah.
Mm.
What's in it for him?
Well, we can talk about some theories.
Oh.
But then a third ransom note was received by Colonel Lindbergh's attorney 2 days later, and the letter informed the family that the person that they'd offered as an intermediary would not be accepted. So they said, okay, how about our friend Frank, or whatever his name is, he'll be the one that delivers the money and negotiates with you. And they said, we don't want to deal with that guy.
Right. What's wrong with
We
Frank?
don't know who Frank
Was it Frank Sinatra?
We don't. Yeah, he's the chairman of the board.
I would have got him involved.
Oh, Blue Eyes. Why would we not get him involved?
You don't want to meet Frank Sinatra? Okay.
Weird.
Your loss. God, they're criminals and stupid.
Yeah, criminally stupid.
That's better.
So the guy that they've offered has been denied. And on that same day, a man called Dr. John F. Condon.
Condom?
It is condom with an N instead of an M at the end.
Oh, okay.
Dr. John F. Condon, who I hadn't realised how funny that is until now. A 72-year-old retired school principal. Oh, God.
Oh, no. Were
Mr.
condoms invented? Kids would have called him Dinger for sure.
In New York.
Hey, Dinger. Do a New York. Is this in New York? Do a
Yeah.
New York accent. Say Dinger. Hey, Dinger.
I'm dinging here.
I thought it was Jersey.
They're all the same to Dave.
Very close.
I don't even know
It's
what
the
Jersey
next state
means.
across.
Right.
Anyway, Dr. John F. Condon, who was a 72-year-old retired school principal that did not personally know the Lindberghs.
His first name means toilet and his last name means Dinger.
The F stands for fuck. John fuck condom. Toilet fuck condom. John, what are you putting out here? So he published a letter in the Bronx Home News, a newspaper at the time, that offered his services to act as a go-between the Lindberghs and the kidnappers, and even offered to pay an additional $1,000 ransom himself if they chose him.
Wait, why?
Just a random guy. He thought, maybe I could help him out. I'll be the intermediary. And the way he volunteered was by publishing a note in the newspaper. And he said, if you want to get in contact, this is my address.
And I'll pay you for the... Or he's saying, pay me $1,000 or
No, he was saying,
pay...
I'll pay you $1,000 if you pick me.
What? I don't...
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, the following day, the fourth ransom note arrived, and it arrived at the house of Dr. John Condon. So the
Right.
kidnappers saw the letter and went, okay. They indicated that he would be acceptable as a go-between. The letter was deemed authentic as it also contained the red circle signatures. The Lindberghs, hearing this, subsequently also authorized Dr. John Condon to act as their intermediary. Just this random guy.
Who put a letter in the newspaper.
And
But
the kidnappers went, yeah, we'll go with him. And then Lindbergh went, yeah, okay, we'll go with him.
That does seem a bit strange.
Yeah,
but
but
he did have a history, like a school principal is a pretty trustworthy
yeah,
kind of...
apparently he was highly respected in the community.
Right.
It did appear like he just wanted to help. But still,
Oh.
it's such a weird thing to do. From that point on, a series of communications between Dr. Condon, and the kidnappers followed. All through the newspaper. They keep publishing letters to each other. Condon used the name Jafsy as a moniker, because which was derived from his initials, JFC. So that was his code name, so that the kidnappers would know they're talking to the real... Because I imagine anyone can put a letter in the newspaper, but his was Jafsy. Following the kidnappers' latest instructions, Condon placed a classified ad in the New York American reading, quote, "Money is ready, Jafsy." It's crazy. This is from the FBI website in the case, which has a great article on it. At 8:30 p.m., on March 12, after receiving an anonymous telephone call, Dr. Condon received the fifth ransom note delivered by Joseph Perrone, a taxi cab driver who received it from an unidentified stranger. The message stated that another note would be found beneath a stone at a vacant stand 100 feet from an outlying subway station. This note, the sixth letter, was found by Condon as indicated. So it's now real spy shit.
Right.
A random taxi driver delivers a note to you that says, go to this place, you'll find another note, and that will tell you where we meet.
Sounds like almost like a fun game.
A wild
crazy.
goose chase.
No funner game than a goose chase.
I could not agree more.
Oh, those things are crazy. They're violent. The sixth letter instructed Jafsy to meet one of the kidnappers late at night at the Woodland Cemetery.
Oh, that's... Why always a cemetery? Meet on a submarine.
Oh, you're back on board submarines.
I don't know how I feel
I
about
think
it.
you're inboard submarines.
Yeah, if you're on and it goes under...
Yeah, you're in
Oh,
big
boy.
trouble.
Oh, dear.
Hold on. Hold your breath.
Hold your hat. You don't want to lose that hat.
Oh, bloody up. Hope you can swim.
He travelled to the cemetery with a bodyguard until he met the kidnapper and he had to meet him alone. There was a man calling himself John who had a European accent. The two men discussed the ransom and how it would be paid. Jafsy wanted proof that the baby was alive before they paid the money. So they parted ways. Jafsy soon received a 7 letter that contained baby Charlie's sleeping suit, proof that they were dealing with the real kidnappers.
Right, doesn't prove he's alive, and now
No.
proves that he's naked.
Yeah, that's right.
I doubt when they kidnapped him, they also packed nappies and some changes of clothes, and so now the kid's naked and possibly alive.
Oh, a really tragic thing is Charles Lindbergh's wife, and she published in the newspaper an instruction of his diet and what she fed him every day in case the kidnappers saw it and could keep up what he usually eats. Tragic. Several more letters were delivered over the next few days until it was finally time to make the payment to the kidnappers. $50,000 was raised and the ransom was packaged in a wooden box that was custom made in the hope that it could later be easily identified. The money was cleverly paid in gold certificates, which is a form of payment that was about to be withdrawn from circulation and no longer accepted at a lot of places. This would hopefully mean that the kidnapper would have to get rid of them quickly and also draw attention to themselves for using an unusual form of currency.
Yeah.
People remember you paying in gold certificates rather than just cash.
It's like if somebody pays with a check now, and you're like, why?
What are you hiding?
Yeah.
The bills were not marked, but their serial numbers were recorded in the hope to be recognised later.
Yep.
The 11th ransom note was delivered to Jafsy on April 2nd, 1932 by another unidentified taxi driver who had received it from an unknown man. Dr. Condon found the 12th ransom note under a stone in the front of a greenhouse in the Bronx, as instructed in the 11th note.
How long has this been going on for by now? Sorry.
The baby's graduated high school.
It's been going on for over a
The
month.
baby is a man. Over a month.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, my
Yes,
God.
it was the start of March and now we're into April.
This is insane.
Imagine the stress of the family the whole time not
Oh,
knowing.
God.
Shortly thereafter, after receiving the 12th letter, on the same evening, by following the instructions in that note, Condon again met kidnapper John. He explained that he only had $50,000, even though the second letter had asked for $70,000. The kidnapper accepted it. The money was handed to the stranger in exchange for a 13th note containing instructions that said the kidnapped child could be found on a boat named Nellie near Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts.
What?
The stranger then walked north into the park woods. Lindbergh himself led the search of Nellie. Sadly, nothing was found.
Oh.
The team of investigators were forced to concede that they had gained nothing in return for the ransom and the kidnapper had vanished. The trail went cold for a number of weeks after this, but then on May 12, 1932, William Allen, an assistant truck driver, pulled over for a nature break And whilst in the bushes not far from the road, he discovered the partly buried body of a toddler.
No.
Sadly, it was Charlie, and he was ultimately found less than 5 miles from his home. The body was badly decomposed but positively identified. The coroner's examination showed that the child had been dead for about 2 months, and the cause of death was a blow to the head.
Oh.
It appeared as though he had died on the night of the kidnapping, and this whole thing had been a ruse.
Oh, no.
Charles Lindbergh insisted on an immediate cremation, which some people questioned, but I can understand.
Tell me they find him. Tell me they find him.
The US Bureau of Investigation, which is now the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, had until the discovery of the body been acting in a purely advisory capacity. That is because it actually hadn't been a federal crime at this point, so they couldn't involve themselves too much. But then on May 13th, President Herbert Hoover authorized the Bureau to serve as the primary federal agency on the case, and the full resources of the US Department of Justice were committed to the investigation of the crime. They were like, all right, now it's a murder. We got to solve this.
Murder and extortion and
All sorts of
bunch of
stuff.
Yeah.
stuff. Oh, man. This is fucked, Dave. What are you doing? People are wanting to learn about like about it, My Little Ponies or something. You know?
Or a man who goes on a nice plane
Yeah,
trip
why
and then
do we
writes a book. Stop there.
We could've
Stop
stopped
when
in
he's like 25. Enough. He's
And
done
he lived
enough.
Happily ever
We could have
after.
stopped in part 1.
No, Dave, I understand what you're doing, and is an amazing and interesting story. Please continue, despite Matt having his head in his hands.
Can I go on?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will forever remain unsolved.
So they get him.
No,
How-
we're going to solve it.
Well, I'll give you the facts here. Household and estate employees were repeatedly questioned and investigated, and police started to suspect an inside job. The Lindberghs had been in their New Jersey home on a Tuesday for the first ever time. So how did the kidnappers know that they would even be there, and which bedroom that Charlie would be sleeping in on the second floor of
That's
the
like
mansion?
what I said.
Yeah, how do they know? How do they know?
Because it's out of the.
Because even if you
not
said
their
someone
regular
was
routine.
someone in the bushes, like how would you know? Like it's not a routine at all.
Yeah.
No, they're never there on a Tuesday. It's
Yeah.
just they happen to be sick. Violet Sharp, a waitress in the home of Mrs. Lindbergh's mother, Mrs. Dwight Morrow, was under investigation by the authorities. She apparently seemed nervous when questioned and had given contradictory testimony regarding her whereabouts on the night of the kidnapping. She committed suicide by swallowing a silver polish that contained potassium cyanide when she was about to be interviewed again. Again, this looks very suspicious on her behalf. However, her movements on the night of March 1st, 1932 had been carefully checked, and it was soon definitely ascertained that she had no connection with the abduction.
Even if, like, information?
Well, police were later criticised for their tactics, and it appeared that she took her own life out of fearing losing her job and the threat posed by the police.
It was just this. Yeah, wow. Just the stress of the whole situation
And it's-
made her so anxious.
Yeah, and it's also been speculated over the years that she may have felt guilty for possibly accidentally tipping off the kidnappers about their movements, maybe telling a stranger at the shops about what they were doing that night, that week, and that she felt so guilty that, you know, she felt like it was her fault. And then when the police are like, "Did you do it? Did you do it?" You know, obviously made her have a breakdown.
God.
So, but they're thinking inside job at this stage. A pamphlet of the security numbers of all the gold certificates that the kidnappers had was given to each employee handling currency in places like banks, grocery stores, insurance companies, that kind of places. And everyone that got given the pamphlet were asked to keep a lookout for the certificates. For a long time, none turned up. But then finally, a lead. On September 18, 1934, a Manhattan bank teller noticed a gold certificate from the ransom, matched the numbers up, and in the margin of the bill was a New York license plate and the name of a gas station manager. It had been written there by the manager of a gas station who had then cashed the certificate. The gas manager had written down the license number because his customer was acting, quote, suspiciously and was possibly a counterfeiter. So he just happened to write down the number plate in case that guy turned out to be dodgy. The license plate was tracked down to Richard Hauptmann, a German immigrant who had been living in the US and working as a carpenter for 11 years. He was then arrested. He was found to be carrying a single $20 gold certificate, but then when his house was searched, over $14,000 of the ransom money was found in his garage. Hauptmann claimed that a friend had given him the money to hold on to and that he had no connection to the crime.
Aww.
But they put him on trial, and it was absolutely sensational and was dubbed the trial of the century.
I bet.
This took place in Flemington, a small town in central New Jersey, a town of only about 2,700 people. Then the trial started. 700 reporters, cameramen, and videographers descended on the place. There were also 5,000 spectators, nearly double the population of the town.
God, imagine owning an Airbnb or something. Or
Oh,
like
you could cash in.
You got a little motel, hotel, Holiday Inn. You are booked out. You're booked solid.
Oh,
You turn to your wife, Margaret, and you're like, we're going on a holiday this year, honey. And she's like, what's a holiday? We've never had one of those. And you're like, well, now we are.
But she knew. She was just
She
being
knew. She was
facetious.
already bloody looking through pamphlets. She was. She's just being, what do you mean? She's already like buying new swimsuits.
Oh, multiple suits.
Yeah.
Man,
Holiday like
they
a
are
star.
cashing in.
Yeah, well, if one's wet, go put on a dry one.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, don't make me explain how to travel to you.
Oh, there's nothing
Quick dry boardies weren't invented yet.
No.
worse than wet clothing when you're going swimming.
Ugh.
Am I right?
Hate it.
Awful.
Yuck.
So the trial started, and it turned out Hauptmann had a criminal record in Germany. He was arrested for stealing strips of leather. As he was awaiting trial, he escaped from prison, leaving his prison clothes neatly folded in his cell with a note that read, "Best wishes to the police."
Oh, you cheeky little shit.
What a cheeky bastard. He was also rumoured to have used a ladder to climb into the mayor's house to steal money and watches.
Ah, so he knows what a ladder is.
And it also once held up two ladies pushing a pram and a baby at gunpoint to rob them.
Oh, my
So
God.
he's got no compassion for babies.
That's right. So he had form for ladder crime and crime against babies.
He sounds like a definite guy. Is he the one?
After he'd escaped from jail, he'd stowed away on a steamship that then lied his way through US immigration.
Wait, what? Oh, this is
back
on
when
his
he was
way
in
in.
Yeah, so this is
Yeah.
how he got to America. So he escaped from prison and then got on a ship, stowed away, then got to America and lied about. And back then, it's obviously a lot harder to look people's criminal records up.
Yeah.
And they were like, "All right, come on in."
All right. You say you're not lying?
And he went, "Yeah, I've
Oh.
never lied in my life."
All right. Well,
Checks out.
that seems to be. You sure you're not lying?
Oh, no.
If you're lying, you have to tell me.
That's the rule.
okay,
That's the
okay.
law here in America.
Hold on, are you a cop? Because you have to tell me.
Yeah, I am. I'm a federal agent.
I'm wearing a uniform.
So I'm asking these questions.
Apart from the money found in his possession, which is obviously fairly damning, other circumstantial evidence was used against him. Examination of the ransom notes by handwriting experts resulted in virtually unanimous opinion that all the notes were written by the same person and that the writer was of German nationality.
Oh my
What?
god.
They
But
can
had
narrow
spent
that
some time in
down.
America, just with the phrasing and putting where the symbols had been, that kind of thing. They
Sure.
thought a European immigrant or a German
I
immigrant.
was thinking before, like, because technology's moved so far, I would try and change my writing. So I was like, I'll just write with my right hand. And then I was like, they'd know that now, wouldn't they? They'd be like, this isn't written with their natural hand, their preferred hand. This is a left-hander writing right.
Why have you spent 10 years training up your right hand and no one ever knew that you could also write with your right?
Well, they know now, fuckhead.
Shit!
What about use your mouth?
Yeah.
Like
How do they identify that?
Yeah, I don't think they can. Someone in The Simpsons did that. I think it might have been the Danger Man writing a letter to Bart when he was all fully plastered up in hospital after jumping into the pool with swimming lions, which I reckon we mention on here once a month.
Lance Murdoch.
Lance Murdoch. There, Bart.
When he's not in action, he's in traction. He's okay, folks.
So they've identified that a German wrote the notes. That's
what they've
wild
said.
to me.
Tool marks on the ladder used in the kidnapping appeared to match tools owned by Hauptmann, found in his house, and a wood expert was engaged to examine the ladder used in the kidnapping. The wood used in the ladder matched a missing beam from the floor in Hauptmann's attic.
Okay.
So it's missing a piece of wood. That
Why is this case? I'd be saying my gavel down.
Yeah. I'd be like, I've heard enough.
It was-
we've got more evidence. Don't need it.
No, I'll just read it out just in case. It was also ascertained that he was in possession of a Dodge sedan automobile, which answered the description that had been seen in the vicinity of the Lindbergh home the day prior to the kidnapping.
Yeah. Did he have muddy boots?
Additionally, Condon, aka Jafsy, the intermediary between the kidnapper and Lindbergh's, his telephone number was found written on a closet door frame in Hauptmann's home.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Why are you?
When they asked him, and it also said his name, and they said, "How did it get there?" He said, "Oh, I must have read it in the newspaper and just written it down. I've been following the case. I've been I've been into the case. I've been trying to maybe solve it myself. Super sus. His face also looks a lot like the sketch that was done based on Jaffsey's description of the man he'd met in the cemetery. And then Jaffsey unequivocally identified Hauptmann as the John that he'd met and given the ransom money to.
Oh, my God.
Charles Lindbergh himself took the stand, testifying that he recognised Hauptmann's voice from the night of the ransom payment.
What?
It was all adding up against the German suspect.
Oh, no, but I feel like there's a but coming.
Britannica writes, when defence attorneys called Hauptmann to the witness stand, he professed total innocence, claimed that he'd been subjected to beatings by the police, and stated that he'd been forced to produce handwriting samples that matched the ransom notes. That's what he said. But after more than 5 weeks of testimony and 11 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a guilty verdict on February 13, 1935, and Hauptmann was sentenced to death. Hauptmann, denying until the end any involvement in the crime, was executed by electric chair a little over a year later on April 3rd, 1936.
Whoa, this guy's life took a real turn. It was so interesting in that part 1. It was fascinating.
What if I told you that there is a part 3?
Fuck me.
It's a crazy life. So Hauptmann, his wife lived decades on beyond him, never took her wedding ring off, and always said, no, my husband's innocent. It wasn't him until she died only a couple of decades ago. But
it sounds like it's not at all disputed.
But over the years, as you can imagine, with a case dubbed the crime of the century, many theories have been put forth. Dozens of books, documentaries on the kidnapping. In 2005, the True TV show Forensic Files, True TV is the name of the network. I'm not trying to say that it's true. But the Forensic Files re-examined evidence from the Lindbergh case. Both of their forensic document examiners concluded that Hauptmann had written the ransom notes, and their wood grain expert found that the rail from the kidnapper's ladder had come from his attic. So books have been written saying it wasn't him, that he was set up, that he's a patsy, all this kind of stuff. Books have also been written about how Charles Sr. himself was involved, that maybe he'd accidentally killed his son and then faked this letter, faked this stuff to sort of cover it up. I personally don't buy into that, but I've just got to say, in case there are any people listening on that are like, oh, I reckon he was set up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Just when they're, because I'm going, obviously all this evidence points directly to him, but that if he was set up, then
that's
writing
the idea,
the phone number on his wall and stuff. But him not saying, I did do it because I'm following the case, makes it more sus than him going, I swear I didn't write this.
I did not write that.
But even then, do you fully believe someone?
Yeah, that's right. And also, because I kind of, like Jaffsey, the guy that met him, obviously he's pretty keen to say it's definitely him. So even him positively identifying him, to me, I'd be like, well, maybe that's him just wanting to find the murderer. But stuff like the wood. He had the wood that matched in his house. He had the gold in his garage.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah, you had the money. And he said... And there's other stuff I've read, like he stopped working soon after the kidnapping, and that he went back to Germany on an expensive holiday with his wife. And it's like, oh, he's never been wealthy before. Just little things like that.
Yeah.
And he's saying like, oh, a friend is getting me to hold the money. Okay, well, who's your friend?
Oh, well, it turned out that the friend had conveniently died. And he said, oh, the friend owed me lots of money, so that's why he left it with me.
And did he say who the friend was?
Yeah, he said, and then he said who the friend was, and he had died, but people were like, that guy could barely pay his rent. He does not have $14,000 secretly hidden away. So, to me, it just all stacked up.
Yeah,
It all stacked
totally.
up.
This feels open and shut.
Yeah.
And the two documentaries that I watched in researching of this, modern people from the FBI and criminal investigators are like, he did it.
Yeah.
Obviously, with a famous case, people say he didn't do it, but he did it.
Just what a piece of shit.
Yeah, I wonder why. Why? Just for the money?
But
Well,
then,
for the money, there are speculation that maybe that whilst the baby out the window, that it had fallen or injured itself, it immediately died. They panicked and let's just hide it. And they were like, well, now we've killed a baby. We're going to go to jail forever. Regardless, we may as well try and make the money.
Right.
But obviously, you got to be a psychopath to plot this stuff in the first place.
100%.
To plot and then to go, I'm taking money from you to get your baby back, which I know I've killed.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You're a bad guy. You're a bad guy.
Oh,
Also, he probably had accomplices that got away with it.
right.
People are like, you wouldn't just do that on your own. Get the ladder up there, go up there, grab the baby.
It's how about planning to like look after a young child for that long as well.
Yeah, it's such a long time. And also, I like the people who say, "Oh, well, it was the dad. He accidentally killed the kid, and then in his panic and grief, plotted a very elaborate cover up in which he no,
Surely he just goes, maybe There's no way he's. I hate this story.
Yep.
Well, there is a part 3. The rest of Lindbergh's life. I went up, finally closing part 2. Public outrage led the US Congress to pass the Federal Kidnapping Act, which is known colloquially as the Lindbergh Law, not long after in 1932, the day that would have been Charles's second birthday. The Lindbergh Law made kidnapping across state lines a federal crime and stipulated that such an offence could be punished by death. This also means that the FBI could have been involved much faster, who may have done a better job investigating it than local police. Also, Lindbergh probably didn't do himself any favours by trying to be in charge of the investigation himself.
Yeah, not going to police.
It sounds like none of that would have changed his kid died because that happened straight away.
No, but
the money went, and the money actually led to them finding the guy. So
true.
In the end, I don't think it could have.
Oh no, there's no. He couldn't have saved his son.
It wouldn't have been a
Couldn't have
different
saved
outcome.
his son. He got most of the money back, I suppose, as well, because it was all sitting in the garage. I don't think.
Yeah.
It actually didn't. I mean, a lot of man hours maybe wasted. But what if they got in earlier? How do they find him without that direct? The money evidence.
But it wasn't even all of the money, was it?
No, they didn't. A lot of the money remained unaccounted for.
And also, maybe that is the worker who killed herself. Maybe that was why her guilt was that. Oh, I did mention it to this German guy. Maybe that.
Yeah, it could have been something like that.
Something like that.
No, that's right. I told someone something. I shouldn't have
You
said
just
that.
wish
Or
you
I answered
said-
the phone and said they asked to speak to the daughter because she works for the mother. Oh no, they're up at New Jersey this week.
Yeah.
You should try them on this number, and then realizing later that's how they would have known.
Yeah, jeez. Be paranoid all the time is the lesson. Don't be paranoid all the time.
Trust no one.
I trust people.
Nah, don't.
Fox Mulder, trust no one. Obviously heartbroken by the death of his son, Charles got on with the rest of his life, but the rest of his life is quite controversial, to say the least. It's already been a long report, and I wanted to mainly focus on his early life and the crime of the century, but I'll give you a brief overview of the rest of his days. Hounded by the press and worried for the safety of their surviving son, the Lindberghs fled to Europe. They were given diplomatic passports and given passage on a private ship to the UK. So the government really helped them out.
Talking
a submarine.
And not diplomatic immunity.
Yeah, they got given from the South African government.
Wow.
To Europe.
Diplomatic submarine.
After a 6-month stay in Britain, the Lindberghs travelled to Germany, where things get controversial because they were treated as honoured guests of the Nazis and the Third Reich.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It just took a turn there. Charles visited centres of military aviation, praised the Luftwaffe's, which is their Air Force, fighter and bomber designs, and asserted that, quote, Europe and the entire world is fortunate that a Nazi Germany lies at present between communist Russia and a demoralised France, end quote. He was very anti-Soviet Union, or very anti-Russia, and at this stage, very pro-Third Reich.
Right. What year is this?
This is the early to mid-1930s.
Right.
He travelled the globe throughout the 1930s and then returned to Germany in October 1938, very late. And Hermann Göring himself, very high-ranking Nazi, decorated him with the Service Cross of the German Eagle. According to Britannica, this led to considerable criticism because there's a lot of outcry against the Nazis, even though World War II hasn't started yet. But Lindbergh, again, according to Britannica, got criticism but remained enormously popular with the American public. Apparently, he was considering moving to Germany just months after the outbreak of World War II, but instead moved to Paris and then back to the USA. Germany alone, Lindbergh argued, could dam the Asiatic hordes and prevent the overrunning of Europe. In an essay for Reader's Digest in November 1935, Lindbergh cautioned against, quote, a war within our own family of nations, a war which will reduce the strength and destroy the treasures of the white race, end quote.
But that's something Lindbergh said.
Yeah, so in Reader's Digest. He was like, why are we fighting with Germany? We shouldn't be fighting against them. And he further pleaded, quote, let us not commit racial suicide by internal conflict, end quote. He was a bit obsessed in his later life with race and eugenics, on a basic level, selective breeding to keep bloodlines pure and have superior children. See how part 3 suddenly gets real weird?
Also, it's
Yeah.
three very different films.
I know.
Yeah. Okay.
Over time, support for Lindbergh disappeared both in the general public and in the military, as he was criticising military leaders left, right and centre publicly. He was still in the military, but he was saying, why are we fighting with them? Why are you invading there?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And eventually, he had a public spat with President Franklin Roosevelt and had to quit his Air Corps Reserve Commission. He went on to fly planes in Asia during the war, supposedly as a civilian, but they did let him bomb the enemy because he's a great pilot. Crazy.
God.
So he had a big public fight with the president.
Who? Oh, the enemy of who was he bombing?
Oh, so he was in Asia, probably bombing Japan.
Right. Because it sounds like he was sort of on the Axis's side.
Oh, right. No, he was anti-Japan. Yeah, complicated. But, yeah, he never acted against America, like, violently, but he did make some very controversial statements that made him less and less popular and less relevant over time. Charles and Anne had 4 more children, and following World War II, the family lived quietly in Connecticut and then in Hawaii. For his services to the government, he was appointed Brigadier General
Brigadier.
in the Air Force.
Matt, you do it.
Brigadier.
It's so much better in his deep
It
voice.
sounds like Break It Down, but Brigadier.
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 That command was given to him by President Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1954, and
Seen a few presidents. I
Yeah,
guess that's
yeah.
what happens in a life.
and because of his fame, he's known them all.
Yeah.
He continued as consultant to Pan American World Airways and to the U.S. Department of Defense. He died in Hawaii on August 26, great day, 1974, age 72. Anne lived another 27 years and died in 2001, age 95.
Whoa, go Anne.
I know,
What date did she die in the pre or post 9/11 world?
I'm afraid I don't have the date.
August
Okay,
26th.
so that's the end of part 3. How about a little part 4?
Oh my God, Dave.
Postscript.
You're killing me. I love this.
Then, 2 years after Anne's death, Charles Lindbergh was headline news all over again when it was discovered that he had secretly fathered 7 children in Germany to 3 separate women. Beginning in 1957, when he was 55 years old, Lindbergh had engaged in lengthy sexual relationships with 3 women while remaining married to Anne. He fathered 3 children with hatmaker Bridget Hessheimer and had 2 children with her sister, Mariette.
Okay.
What did she make?
Undisclosed.
Marionettes.
Ah.
Yeah, come on, put 2 and 2
Is
together.
this him trying to keep the bloodline pure still? What's he doing now?
Yeah, it's a big possibility that people have speculated. He also had a son and daughter with his European secretary, also in Germany. All 7 children were born between 1958 and 1967. When the children were born, he carried on visiting his new family, but never told them his real name. They were told that their father was an American writer called Carew Kent, which is the best fake name. Carew Kent.
I would have gone Kent Carew.
You can't get away with big lies like that anymore.
No,
Quick
you
Google.
can't.
Yeah.
Oh, kangaroo. Okay, great. I won't look into that any further. Won't go to the library or anything.
Try and see one of your books.
Yeah, can you bring some books? Oh, they got lost on the plane.
I guess you'd be like, they're only published in English, not available in Germany. Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, son.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
That's wild.
And then just before he died, Lindbergh wrote to each of his mistresses, this is about 10 days before he died, sent them a letter each, asking them to keep his secret even after he died. They did this, and they never told any of their children the truth. However, after reading a magazine article about Lindbergh in the mid-1980s, Bridget's daughter Astrid deduced the truth. She later discovered snapshots and more than 150 love letters from Lindbergh to her mother, and DNA tests confirmed the truth. And then in the 2000s, after Anne had died, I guess out of respect for her, they came out and they wrote a book about it, and it became worldwide public news.
So what? She would have reached out and found her other siblings as well, like the other
'cause
7 kids?
some people are like your step siblings, but also your cousins.
Yeah, that's fucked.
'Cause
Yeah, so you're growing up thinking those kids are your cousins.
Yeah, but actually your
Turns out
dad
they're
is
your
their
half
dad.
siblings.
Yeah. Isn't that absolute? And that's the end of the report.
wild.
That is it. It's like 4 crazy chapters of his life. And there it is. That's my longest report ever. Thank you. I'm sorry. It's so many ups and downs. Obviously it
roller
starts with
coaster.
like he's the most famous man on earth, and then he loses a child, and you feel so sorry for him, and then he's a Nazi, and then he comes out at the end, and he's like, "I had 7 secret kids."
That's first of all too many kids, too many secret kids.
We know what was causing it, though. White pride.
That was the cause this time. We finally have an answer.
Dave, that is wild.
What a wild, wild story. And there was like detective bit in the middle there where they're sending secret notes to each other. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's insane. I think I'd vaguely looked into the topic once before, like a quick Google.
Because obviously it's frequently requested. We've got over 10 people asking for it here. Yeah.
I think I may have seen that before. So all I knew, though, was that it wasn't good for the baby.
Right.
I knew that. I was like, this isn't going to be good.
I didn't know.
We've talked about the Mandela effect before.
Yeah.
Online, there are a lot of people posting saying, I don't remember that they ever found the baby. I don't remember that a man was arrested for his kidnap.
Right.
Yeah, that was on a Patreon episode. We did the Mandela effect as a topic. But yeah, some people are saying that, hang on, many people online were agreeing, yeah, that's right, the Lindbergh baby. I thought that he was never found.
It was a German was found guilty of killing his kid, and then
he goes to Germany.
Had such a close relationship with Germany straight after.
And had 7 German children.
I would have thought Germany to me would have made me
for
feel like I just don't want to go to Germany.
Which is illogical, but emotionally, of course you would.
Yeah.
Of course you'd be like, I'm not going to that place.
Obsessed with eugenics and race.
Yeah.
Because he's obsessed with that kind of thing. And it's like, well, it turns out that people you think is the superior race killed your son.
God, that's odd.
All right. Well, after your report, Dave, which was fantastic.
Thank you so much.
It is now time for everyone's favourite segment of the show, Fact, Quote, or Question.
Fact, quote, or question.
Widget the World Watcher. This week's fact, quote, or question comes from Andreas. What does an omelette do to a U?
Makes it sparkle.
Okay.
If you could just put that try again.
Yeah, say it's sparkly.
Andreas Muleo.
Nice.
The sparkle was on the first U.
Mm-hmm.
And Andreas writes a question this week. And this week's question is, I've got a question for you. Lisa, will you marry me? That might confuse you at first, as neither one of you is named Lisa. This also isn't a Simpsons reference, although Milhouse may have uttered those words in some episode. This question isn't even directed at you, but the lovely person sitting next to me, who I've been together with for 8.5 years, and who rarely listens to podcasts, but knows that the Planet Broadcasting crew has a special place in my heart. I love this woman as much as Jess hates Bindi Irwin.
That's a lot.
Truth is, I just needed someone to read out this question and the following ramblings out loud to buy me some time while I fumble around with a ring box behind my back. Cheers, guys.
Was that a proposal?
I think so.
Who was that from? Andreas Umlaut.
Well, this is a moment here. Could you, with your German heritage, you should be able to say a word like that.
Andreas Muhlauer.
Ooh, that did sound more accurate, probably.
Andreas.
I mean, they've stopped listening by this point.
Let us know how it goes. Lisa, what did you say? This is crazy.
This is wild.
This is podcasting.
It's the power of podcasting. I think...
Wow, I'm feeling tingles, Andreas. I'm tingling.
You guys are confused. That was funny. Because I read it before. I read the first 2 lines before. I'm like...
Whoa.
Wow, do we have to reach out, do you think, in advance so Andreas knows to listen to this with Lisa?
I'll let him know.
Yeah, thanks, Andreas, for supporting the show. And good luck, hopefully, with an engagement.
And let us know if we should delete this section of the episode due to something going not quite to plan. Like you accidentally throw the ring
Yeah, it
in
falls
the
down
toilet.
a grate.
Yeah, in the toilet grate. I got a great toilet.
Wow.
Well, that was definitely the most exciting edition of Fat Quote or Question yet.
Yep.
Lisa,
Wow.
will you marry me? That is a Simpsons thing, right? That's what I thought when he...
Well, there's Ralph definitely saying...
I choose you.
Yeah, I love
different.
Lisa Simpson. When I grow up, I'm going to marry her. No! You can pinpoint the second his heart breaks in half.
And then, well, that brings do let us know how you go, Andreas. And then that brings us to everyone's favorite segment of the show. It's the Patreon shout-out segment of the show.
Yeah.
That is right. If you support the show at patreon.com/dogoonpod, you get rewards every single week and every single month, including 2 bonus episodes that no one else hears and a bunch of other stuff, including pre-sales for all our shows everywhere in the world. We'll put those on sale there first. And in exchange for being the lovely people you are on Patreon, we're going to shout out to a few of you now.
I thought of a game.
Okay, great.
To keep it lighthearted again, because
Okay.
part 2 onwards was fucked.
Oh, so what section of his life? Part 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Part 1.
Okay.
And you know how his plane was
The
called?
Spirit of St. Louis.
Let's name their plane.
Name the plane game. All right, can I kick it off?
Please.
Thanking from Cork in Ireland, Laura O'Day.
Laura O'Day.
Laura O'Day.
The Lord of the Dads.
Oh, because law is short for Laura.
Yep.
The Lord of the Dance. That's the name of the plane.
No,
Yep.
the law. Laura of the dance?
Laura of the Dance.
I like it.
Yeah.
That is a good plane.
That's great.
No. Laura O'Day.
O'Dance. Laura O'Dance.
Oh, dance, girl.
Yeah. So you can take your pick really there, Laura,
There's
to be
a few
honest.
options.
Yeah.
Or maybe you've got a fleet of planes.
Yeah.
Or you could put like a very long name down the side of that plane.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, bracket. Or.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your support, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
And I'd love to thank from Coolac in New South Wales, Australia, Adam James, a man with 2 first names, much
And
like
2
myself.
first planes. And what that first plane is called, the Aurora Coolata.
Ooh.
Oh, I like that. You look impressed with yourself. Are you okay?
I just don't know where that came from.
I'm going to call the second one the Flying Cow.
All right. That's good
Oh,
too.
that's good. The Aurora Coolata and the Flying Cow. Which one am I going to take to work today, guys?
They both sound like good pubs.
They do. I'd drink at either of those if I was drinking.
Couple of tinnies down at the Aurora Coolata.
Too right.
Do right. Thanks so much, Adam James. Well, if you don't mind, I would like to thank someone by name now. And I'll do it. I would like to thank from Denver, Colorado,
Ooh.
home of the Denver airport.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I would like to thank Michael Gilbert.
Oh, okay.
So what the name of his plane, obviously parked at the Denver airport, is
Yes.
of course...
Oh, well, has he got 1 or 2 planes? Because one would be called probably
Why do they all have 2 now? Now I feel bad for Laura.
Virgin Lucifer. Laura had a fleet.
Oh, yeah.
Virgin Lucifer is great.
Is that Virgin Blue is just an Australian thing, right?
Oh,
The Virgin Domestic in Australia. Oh, it's not even. It used to be Virgin Blue. And also Gilbert is the brand of rugby balls. So maybe what about the old scrum half
Nelson?
Nelson?
The Scrum Half Nelson. That's a good name.
Yeah,
That's a
I
good
like
name.
that.
The Virgin Lucifer and the Scrum Half Nelson.
God, good teamwork there, guys. Well done.
Like that a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to Michael Gilbert in Denver, Colorado.
Mickey G, I think his friends call him. And I like to think of myself as a friend of Mickey G.
I would like to thank another friend now from Australia, from Greenwood in an unknown state, because it says here, there's obviously a drop-down menu that you've forgotten to fill in, so it just says from Greenwood in Select 1. It is Connor Schmidt.
Connor
Oh.
Schmidt.
There's something about Schmidt that I love. It's just such a good
It's
name.
a good name.
Yeah.
The
The Falcon.
Country
man.
Air. Manair.
The Falcon Countryman Air. That sounds quite good. Manair is a cool
Manair.
concept word.
Manair, yeah.
The Falcon Countryman Air.
Yeah. The Falcon Country Manair.
I like it. Connor, do you like that? Select 1. I mean...
Yes or no? Select one. Thank you, Connor.
Thanks, Connor.
Schmidt.
Great to have the Schmidt on board.
Schmidt.
Do you reckon I can thank people too?
Yeah.
Oh, please.
I'd like to
Do you have a
thank-
name as good as Schmidt?
No.
Oh.
Well,
Actually,
pretty good.
Okay.
I would like to thank from West Moona in Tasmania,
I love Tasmania.
Kate Buzzercott.
Oh, that is a great name. That is a fantastic name.
Got to do something with buzzer, I think.
buzzer. So like a bee, the flying bee.
Oh, I like that.
You probably don't
The
need to say
flying bee.
Like the flying V?
Or what about
In the
like
ice
the
hockey?
beehive or something like that?
Oh, yeah. The Hives, Swedish band,
What about
Black and White,
the Swedish
clothes.
Hive?
A Swedish hive?
Swedish Hive,
I like
Swedish
that.
Hive Mind in the air.
Okay, yeah, see.
I reckon, Kate, you should just call it the Swedish Hive.
Yeah, I reckon.
Ah, it's confusing.
I mean, you've got options. That's your call to make, ultimately.
Let us know what you think, Buzzer.
Thank you, Kate. And I'd also like to thank from New York, New York,
Oh, Frank Sinatra.
It's a hell of a town.
Cameron Wade.
Wade. As you wade into a pond. So maybe the flying ducks.
Yes.
Again, I've said a thing that already flies and put flying in the front.
What about just Old Blue Eyes?
Oh, Blue Eyes. Frankie.
It's a good name for a plane, I reckon.
I don't know
take
about old, though. Who's getting in a plane that's called old something?
Oh, Old Blue Eyes, just take it down to San
The
Francisco.
2020 Blue Eyes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good. Big blue.
That gives you confidence.
Yeah, 2020.
Big Blue, I think, of the ocean. Are you landing in the ocean? Is that
Hey.
happening?
It could be.
That's
Maybe it's one of those
It's an aquaplane.
aquaplane.
Seaplane.
I'm aquaplaning. Isn't that when you're like you?
When you're
Driving
driving
through
along.
water?
Yeah.
I'm aquaplaning. I'm
Yeah.
aquaplaning here in New York City.
Ah, Cameron Wade, what an absolute pleasure to have you on board listening in the Big Apple.
Yeah,
Also a good name for a plane.
yeah, the Big Apple.
Oh,
The flying apple. All right,
damn it.
he's
Yeah,
got two.
flying apple.
Did Kate Buzzercott have two? The bee and the hive.
Put them together. Now we've got to give Laura O'D another one now. Or a
Wait, didn't
day.
we give her like 7?
No, we gave her one and then said she's got a fleet. She'll be right.
Yeah, Laura Oda Dance and Lord of the Dance. And also, she's from Cork. So, like bobbing like a cork in the ocean was a famous quote by football commentator Dennis Committee. So, maybe the golden tonsils air.
I like it.
I love it.
Thank you, Jess. Dave, a bit lukewarm.
I think I said I lukewarm it. Just to clarify. And thanks to everyone that supports the show at patreon.com/DoGoOnPod. Makes a big difference to our lives, and hopefully you guys get a lot out of it as well with those bonus episodes and all that kind of stuff. One should have just dropped by the time you're hearing this.
That's right. We're about to record one. And also, when you're supporting the Do Go on Patreon, you're also supporting Primates Podcast, which is a podcast all about primates and popular culture. It's very silly, but very fun. It's just a comedy show, basically. The apes and the monkeys are very important, but also not at all important. And also, Dave Warnicki's show, Book Cheat, which goes through a classic novel every fortnight, and he reads the book, so you don't have to. And it's a whole lot of fun. Jess and I were on a recent episode, probably the most recent episode, where we talked about A Christmas Carol.
That is right. I've got a new episode coming out January 1st. Start the new year the right way
And
by listening to a show about a book.
tomorrow's episode of Primates features Jessica Perkins.
Does it?
And we talk about Mowgli.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Good, fun time.
So check those out on your podcast app or stream them online for free. Good time. And you want to get in contact with us, we are on all the social medias all the time. We never stop. At Do Go On Pod for everything. And Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're also dogoonpod@gmail.com. And if you ever want to buy a ticket to any of our live shows or support the Patreon or buy some merchandise, you can definitely do that. That also is a great way to support the show whilst getting yourself some new threads. Go to dogoonpod.com.
And one last thing, if you can give us a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever, that would be really appreciated. Last time we asked for you to put Soy Boy into the review, and a good half dozen of you did that, and that really brought joy to my heart. A 5-star review that also calls us Soy Boys.
It brought
is also good.
soy to your heart.
Yeah.
Come on.
So much soy.
Calcium-rich soy. Calcium enriched. I don't think it naturally is enriched with soy. Calcium.
Oh, that is the end of the show for another week and another year. Thank you so much for sticking with us through the 2018. And now it's time to go into the 2019 next week.
Fresh.
We will not stop.
And I guess, yeah, we'll see you next year. Jess, see you next year, mate.
See you next
Dave,
year.
see you next year.
Thanks, Dad. And until next week, and until next year, I will say goodbye.
Laters.
Bye.
To me, that's Broden more than Dad.
Yeah, it's Broden.
Sorry, to me, it's my dad. Because remember, I think I've said before, he says it every year.
Does he really?
Bye.
Every year. Bye.
Bye, son.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates. I mean, if you want. It's up to you. 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 It's up to you.